This is Cristobal, and he's got a huge problem. See, he's just scrimped and saved up a nice pile of bananas to start his own business. A local shop selling high-end fashion. All his friends celebrated the store's grand opening, and his very first customers streamed in, fascinated by his collection of wares. Before long, a queue forms at the counter and he begins to take payments. Cards swiped, transactions approved, and receipts printed. It was a good day of work, Cristobal thinks, as he closes shop and prepares for tomorrow's crowd. But he notices something terrible. The bananas in his company's bank account? It's far lower than expected, but he could have sworn that they sold at least 10,000 bananas worth of merchandise, and he even has the receipts to prove it. Cristobal opens his computer and pours through page after page of transactions and grits his teeth. Turns out he was right. He did earn 10,000 bananas, but hundreds were quietly siphoned out of his earnings. But where did these bananas go? They went to them, the twins in blue and orange. They run digital payment companies, but ask any small business owner, and you'll likely get far more colorful language to describe the pair. Infamous for charging ludicrous fees, strong-arming businesses to reject competitors, and even driving up inflation. The twins have been exerting their influence over the digital payment space in all the wrong ways. This is their duopoly, explained. But what is a duopoly? That's what happens when two companies or businesses own an overwhelming share of the market. It's different from a monopoly, where only one business owns everything, hence the name. Remember the Monopoly board game? See, the goal is to own as many properties as possible. The more properties you buy, the more and more restrictive it becomes to other players because they're more and more likely to land on your plots, paying you in the process. Buy up all the property and no other players are able to fight back against your total dominance, securing victory via monopoly. But instead of just one player owning everything, what if they made a deal with another player to split the board halfway? This would change the situation to a duopoly instead. Easy, right? Now take the Monopoly board, apply it to the global payment industry, and you've got the credit card duopoly, with the twins sitting at the very top. Together, Jungle reporters show the twins allegedly own up to 90% of the global payment processing market, save for a few Eastern jungles. Just to put that into context, imagine if the next time you go shopping, every single clothing brand you see at the mall is owned by Cristobal or his buddy Laurent. As a customer, you'd feel starved for choice, right? When you've got no alternatives, you're forced to pick the option you hate the least. This is exactly what's happening to business owners when they have to deal with digital payments. They've got no choice but to choose between blue or orange, or risk losing customers because of their inability to process digital payments. Make no mistake, the twins are keenly aware of their stranglehold over the market and have used it to further their dominance. Just like in Monopoly fashion, they too have pretty much full control of the entire board, and other players are struggling to fight back. But the question is, how did they become so powerful? Was it luck, cunning, or something a little more under the table? Let's rewind back to the 1960s, back to a time when the jungle's payment world was wild, untamed, and full of opportunity. Back then, enterprising monkeys could set up their own little payment stands. Bananas changed hands in all sorts of ways, some with IOUs, some with pretty stones, and even a few with good old barter trade. It was honestly chaos, as everyone was still new to this whole digital payment thing. But then, two brothers, Blue and Orange, saw through the chaos and came to a realization. If they could convince the biggest banks in the jungle to use their proprietary payment services, they could control the flow of bananas everywhere. No more IOUs, no more shiny stones, no more barter trade. The whole industry would change, and they would be the ones controlling the flow of bananas. Their plan was concrete. Chaos is a ladder, one that the twins would climb to eventually dominate the market of digital payments. And so, they started small. First, they offered payment security to shopkeepers. They'd promised to handle all digital payments, claiming that working with them would safeguard them from shady payments or scammers looking to make a quick banana. At first, it sounded like a good deal. With digital payments in its infancy, it paid to have some security when dealing with this new form of commerce. But the twins didn't stop there. They partnered with scores of businesses across the Western Hemisphere over the years. By the 1980s, the twins had hundreds of thousands of businesses, both small and large, onboarded as merchants. Because of this, Customers also began using blue and orange cards for their shopping needs. This was all part of their plan. The twins now possessed massive influence over banana inflow and were ready for the next step in their plan to cement their position at the top. They began pushing for exclusivity deals with their partnered banks, and their old partners found themselves in a pinch. See, the banks could refuse, but this would absolutely nuke their business. Because if a bank didn't sign on the dotted line, they'd risk losing access to the twins' massive network of merchants and customers. Those who refused to bend the knee would watch all their clients flock to rivals who could handle payments using the twins' blue or orange cards. The ones left behind would be stuck handing out IOUs or fighting an uphill battle against the budding duopoly. Like it or not, the twins had made themselves indispensable. Their network was so vast and their payment systems so widely adopted that any bank left out would be cut off from the flow of bananas. No bananas in, no bananas out. A death sentence for banks. Because of the existential threat to their businesses, banks reluctantly signed the exclusivity deals, locking themselves and the entire jungle into the twins' system. And just like that, the twins' grip on the digital banana economy tightened one contract at a time. Other competitors tried to break in, but the twins were always one step ahead, making offers you can't refuse and nudging rivals out of the way, according to rumors from the grapevine. Some say rivals ran into mysterious technical glitches. See, every time a new payment network was trying to set up shop, they'd run into loads of problems. Whenever a customer tried to pay with a rival's cards, the transaction would take just a little longer or mysteriously fail altogether. Shopkeepers would grumble about technical difficulties, and customers, frustrated by the hassle, would quickly go back to using the twins' cards. It wasn't sabotage, of course, just a little bad luck or technical glitches that always seemed to work in the twins' favor. Coincidence? Or maybe a shopkeeper who dared to accept a competitor's card would suddenly find their fees mysteriously increased. At least that's what some merchants claim. In the jungle, everyone knows about the twins' draconian rules. If a shopkeeper started promoting a rival's card, or maybe even offering a discount to customers who used it, they might wake up one morning to find their own transaction fees had quietly crept up. No warning or explanation, but the message was clear as day. Play by the twins' rules or pay the price. Most shopkeepers learned quickly that it was safer for their businesses to stick with the twins, just to avoid dealing with their wrath. All strictly business, of course. By the time the rest of the jungle realized what was happening, it was too late. The twins' network had grown so vast, so deeply rooted, that even the jungle government couldn't untangle it. The twins had become the gatekeepers of the digital banana economy. And so, through a mix of cunning deals, exclusive contracts, and a little bit of old-fashioned muscle, the twins built an empire. Not by chance, but by design. Today, every time one of Cristobal's customers swipes a card, a cut of his hard-earned bananas goes straight to the twins. No questions asked. But what does this mean for the rest of the jungle? And why should anyone care about this? Let's take a look at what's happened since the twins took over. Their fees are a disease to small businesses. The twins set the rates, and they almost never go down. In fact, over the years, they've crept up, squeezing more and more juice from every transaction. For many shopkeepers, these fees are the second biggest expense after rent. Some say it's just the cost of doing business. Others call it daylight robbery. And to Cristobal, he's got no choice but to bite the bullet, because leaving the network could mean losing a big chunk of his customers who exclusively use blue and orange's cards. But it's not just about the fees. The twins have a habit of gobbling up any competitor that dares to challenge their rule. See a new payment network sprouting up? Give it a few months, and it's either bought out, buried in red tape, or quietly acquired into the twins' system via business merger. The jungle's seen it all before, and history always repeats itself. No matter how many upstarts try to shake things up, the twins always seem to come out on top. And if you think the twins are content to just collect their fees, think again. They've been known to flex their muscles in ways that go far beyond the card reader. They've been linked to scandals where major gaming platforms removed certain controversial games, with platforms saying they changed their rules out of fear of losing access to the twins' payment network. And if you don't play by their rules, you risk being cut off from the entire digital banana economy. For many businesses, that's something you cannot risk. Beyond the dubious nature of their demands, this is a clear signal of their intentions. The twins don't just want to dominate the payment space, but they also want to be able to dictate how their merchants run their business. But that's not even the worst part. Entire jungles aren't spared from the twins' wrath. Elephant's Jungle in the east tried to create their own payment network, BuPay, offering merchants a cheaper and fairer way to move bananas. The twins didn't take this lightly and used every legal trick in the book, according to critics. Lobbying, complaining to the US jungle about the supposed unfair market conditions in Elephant's Jungle. And let's not forget the impact on normal monkeys like us. With the twins controlling nearly every digital payment, prices creep up for everyone. Shopkeepers have no other option than to pass the fees on to customers, and before you know it, the cost of bananas, coffee, and even jungle rent starts to rise. Some call it inflationary pressure. Cristobal just calls it industry collusion. And with the twins' dirty laundry coming to light, the monkeys are starting to notice. And many are not happy with the twins flexing their influence in all the wrong ways. Remember Elephant's homegrown network BuPay? When the twins tried to muscle in with their usual tricks, high fees, exclusivity deals, and a take-it-or-leave-it attitude, Elephant didn't roll over. Instead, he rallied the jungle and doubled down. Not only did BuPay offer a cheaper, fairer way to move bananas, but they made sure it was the only card allowed to run on the jungle's new superhighway, the UPI. The twins cried foul, lobbied and complained, but Elephant stood firm. He even passed new rules. No more exclusive deals with the twins, and every animal could choose which card to carry. The result? BuPay's share of the jungle's credit card market exploded, and the twins suddenly found themselves scrambling to keep up, forced to have a taste of their own medicine. It's a sign to the rest of the jungle. They're not untouchable if communities stand together and the leaders have the courage to act against their duopoly. But this wave of criticism isn't just seen abroad. Everywhere, more animals are starting to take matters into their own hands. Shopkeepers are starting to talk, experimenting with new ways to trade bananas. Governments are on the prowl too. Senate hearings, investigations, and new laws are all on the table. The twins might still have the upper hand, but the days of doing business in the shadows are slowly coming to an end. Cristobal isn't giving up either. He's joined a group of shopkeepers demanding transparency and fair play, and have started speaking to their local representatives about the issue and pushing for change. But realistically, there's a long road ahead in terms of dismantling the twins' control. But at the very least, it seems that the monkeys are finally taking action. And only time will tell how the situation plays out. And when in doubt, as we like to say on this channel, always follow the bananas. So if any monkeys are confused, remember, this is just a hypothetical explainer about credit card duopolies, explained using bananas and animals. This video is purely for educational purposes only, and any resemblance to actual people, places, or businesses, living or extinct, is purely coincidental. Please do not sue Monkey. Thank you so much for watching.